So this will probably be a pretty quick video. On my flight out to Los Angeles for Gallifrey 1, I caught a couple of films on the way out there. I caught Ready or Not, which was a nifty little horror-y, slasher-y kind of bit of a satire thing. It was fine. It was good. It was fun. I don't feel like I have much more to say about that one than that. And I also caught JoJo Rabbit. And that one I do want to talk about because I missed it earlier. I didn't catch it before the Oscars happened. It's the sort of thing that you see the premise and it would have made me nervous, except it was Taika Waititi. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he has a good idea what he's doing with this. So this is the film which follows a Nazi youth. You know, he's 10 years old. And that's JoJo. And he is living in Nazi Germany towards the tail end of the war. He has fully swallowed all this. He drank the Kool-Aid. He believes all the propaganda about Jews. He thinks that they sleep upside down and they breathe fire and they read thoughts and, you know, all this ridiculous stuff. He believes all of that. He believes in the power of the Fuhrer to the point that Hitler is his imaginary friend. Hitler, played by Taika Waititi, which, oh, that's a lot of fun. And it is a comedy? Question mark? Because there's a lot of humor in it. Especially when it comes to the indoctrination of young people and sort of the ridiculousness of the world that they were sold and the story they were told about the glory of their nation and of their race. There is a lot of comedy built around that. And a lot of it comes from some of the adults and to what degree they have either also drank the Kool-Aid or very clearly are very disillusioned with it. So you have this is probably the first movie since Galaxy Quest where Sam Rockwell didn't annoy me. I have a long-running thing. I can't quantify it. I can't. Something about Sam Rockwell I just don't like. And that's not me saying he's a bad actor. He's a great actor, but I don't like him and I don't know why. I liked him in this and it probably helped that since he was a Nazi, I didn't actually have to like him. So that helped quite a bit, I think, with me sort of going with it. And he's great because he's been taken off the front lines because of an injury. He's disillusioned. He's drinking all the time and he's, you know, showing these kids how to throw grenades. It's ridiculous. And then we have Scarlett Johansson, who has a wonderful dynamic playing JoJo's mother. She has such a good dynamic with the young actor who plays JoJo. And it's a lot of what goes on there is really touching. And that's sort of the other thing. While it is a comedy, it's a comedy in the same way that something like The Great Dictator is a comedy. It's a comedy in the way that something like Four Lions is a comedy. It picks very specific things to portray as humorous, but never makes light of what it is the Nazis actually did or believed. It does not, as much as it makes fun of the degree to which JoJo believes these things about Jews, it doesn't shy away from the danger of those beliefs. So when, I won't get into too many spoilers, I don't think, but, you know, and this much was in trailers, when JoJo finds a young Jewish girl hiding in the walls of his house, there starts to be a bond that forms there. And he doesn't know what to do about that. He's confused to hell about so much stuff going on. And, you know, he's one of the really interesting things where that gets reflected is actually in the performance of Taika Waititi as his imaginary friend, Adolf Hitler. Because at the start, he's very jovial. He's like a friend. He's, you know, very, oh, you know, everything's good. But as JoJo starts to question what's going on and starts to wonder and starts to pull back a little from the philosophy, the imaginary Hitler starts to more and more closely resemble the actual Hitler. Less jovial, more angry. And it, again, it does a good job of, the film as a whole does a good job of letting you enjoy something being funny until it very suddenly is not. And when you say that about a comedy, that might sound like, well, the joke stopped working. Like, no, it stopped being a joke because it reached a point where, no, this isn't fun and you're not supposed to have fun. And again, it made me think of Four Lions. It didn't unsettle me to the degree that Four Lions unsettled. Like, that movie, to my soul, freaks me out. And Jojo Rabbit didn't quite do that, but I don't think it was aiming to either. But it did stir up some of the same clash of the humor and the darkness, and not shying away from either one and finding a way to blend them without trivializing the tragedy and the pain and the sickness that was the Nazi mentality. And as much as characters like, say, Sam Rockwell is a bit buffoonish, you also have, scenes later on where you see the Gestapo. And there are still lines and jokes and moments that are funny that involve them, but the instant they show up, it is terrifying. It is one of the tensest scenes I've seen in a film in a long, long time. And like I said, the film also doesn't shy away from tragedy. I'm not going to spoil anything about specifics. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to. It's a very, very good film. It deserved the nominations that it got. And there was a beat towards the end that, again, I got to talk very vaguely here. Something happened that the swiftness of it, the swiftness with which we find out about it, was very sudden. And it made my jaw drop. And it was sad, but it didn't make me cry. But it held on that moment. It let that moment sit. It didn't just have it there to shock you. It let that moment sit. It let it sink in. And then it allowed for a callback to something that had been a little bit of a recurring thing throughout the film. And when that bit happened, we're still lingering on this surprise bit, and we get a callback to something earlier, and that was where I started to cry. And if you've seen the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, I'm hoping I didn't give too much away, but it's a movie about kids. It's not a movie for kids, but it is really good. It is really smart. Because if you're going to tackle this kind of material and attempt to wring humor out of it, if you're going to do anything other than just create the most crass nonsense, edgelord stuff, then you have to be very, very smart about how you approach it. And this film is. Jojo Rabbit's really good. I'm glad I saw it. I wish I'd caught it earlier. I'm glad I've seen it now. Add this, along with Knives Out and Little Women, to the movies that would have made my top 10 if I'd seen them at the time I made the darn thing. I'm going to say I'll try and do better this year in terms of seeing stuff, I want to see before the top 10 comes out. But the problem, these awards contenders, they get this limited release the tail end of the year, and then I don't get a chance to see them till February. I'm not going to hold off a top 10 list from one year until 2 months into the next one. Whatever, I'm rambling now. So, thank you so much for tuning in. Jojo Rabbit, have you seen it? What are your thoughts on it? Whatever they are, drop something on down in the comments and let's talk about it. And there's the usual stuff, like, subscribe, share this around. I have a Patreon if you want to help fund things like my trip out to Gallifrey 1. It wouldn't have been possible without that support. So give it a look, think about it, but also don't sweat it too much. We're relaxed around here, so just, come on back next time you need a break.